which is so cold. He said, my opinion is she should have no pills or drops at her house.
I didn't know if this was publicizing everything. Okay. So
this is Jamie's response. Jamie said, my opinion is she should have no pills or drops at her house as long as Belle is willing to help her out now. Her house should be sold and she should not be able to drive anymore. She would go to assisted living. When her money runs out, it runs out. We can go from there. I'm guessing that is something we would need to discuss with the lawyer. I think she could meet some new friends and really enjoy it.
What lawyer? This is recordings.
Anyway, so that's what Jamie said. And then Sean said, well said, Junior, well said. So then I wrote and said, hello, as much as I appreciate and make up for including you and anyone else who provides that custody, and don't accept me. But I will have you walk. If I'm on for that week, it should be me, it should be sure to not be fulfilled what I have to have help. As far as video helping, I'm so grateful and I can see that point mom says there's no choice. She will ask over and over where to go, and I got sorry, but for her health, it is making losing her eyesight this past week as well. As far as moving, I so appreciate that when you take my mom and experience my friend. And we talked about you in past to drive halfway between the two of us and take turns with her. I totally get that this will not be her first choice, but our hearts are just willing to take her. She can also go back.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm always good.
I'm going to see if Kevin's on here yet. We have a slew of emails coming in
Okay.
with people trying to connect.
I'm having a golden chai latte.
Nice. Golden chai.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, I guess we're gonna get started. On how is everybody today? Pretty happy, hopefully.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, wait.
Why not? There's nothing else to do but be happy. So
Let's see if I can share my screen here. Okay, so I'm gonna send this out afterwards. Can you guys all see the hot topics? Is it being
yes,
shared right now?
hot topic. I can see it.
Okay, perfect. So the SBA Disaster Loans, the online application system broke down this week. It was very painful, honestly, to complete this application online. Like you'd have to really, for those of us who are impatient, which would be me, waiting 5 minutes between work and then it didn't save. And it was really quite the nightmare, even at 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night, which is not my prime time to shine, but I was so frustrated during the day. Anyway, to make a long story short, I have changed it now that you to complete the application form by form and upload it to their site. So I just wanted to give a couple tips and tricks. I mean, we're helping a lot of our clients complete these forms for the SBA loans. The advantages, they're, at 3.75% fixed, not to exceed 4%. You can borrow up to $2 million, which they're expanding under the new stimulus bill. And but what I would recommend is getting all your information together first. If you need help, but I have a template that I use all the time for lending or tax controversy or things like that, or people who are working on trying to improve their personal financial state of affairs. And so I created a template a long time ago that kind of helps people gather that information together for their personal financial statements and helping to put a budget together for the household. So I can send that out. If you need it, just contact us and we'll get it to you. But making sure that you have access or have your current business financial, the tax returns, all that information all together, and make sure that you submit it all together. Um, do not submit piece by piece and expect the bank to follow up because it is taking them about 21 to 20. They're promising 2 to 3 weeks to review and approve the applications, but it is going to take exponentially longer if you don't get all the stuff together and submit it at the same time. The cash, once you execute, once you get those loan documents issued, once you agree to take the loan, then they are promising that you're going to get cash dispersed to you within 5 days. So this is a good 30-day process minimum, which is a drastic reduction in time over a typical SBA loan, which could take 45 to 60 days. It's increased again under the CARES Act. Now the CARES Act, and I've done a lot of analysis on this, is not law yet. So first the law has to pass both houses, the Senate and the House of Representatives, and then be signed by the president. Right now, a modified version of what they're calling CARES, the CARES federal stimulus package, is passed through the Senate, and the House was scheduled to vote on it this morning at 9 a.m. Eastern time. I've been keeping the news open here, and it still, to my knowledge, as of this moment, has not gotten through the House yet. So we have a bit of a ways to go. This was supposed to be done last Friday. Again, we see a whole week has passed and we're not there yet. But these are some of the critical portions that hopefully will stay, but I really want to do these weekly calls to keep you updated as things change and new things are coming out. Part of the expansion of this program is exciting because what is touted that is going to be available is that banks will be creating the programs for some of these loans, and that you can get redemptions, or some of this will go away, and meaning it will be a loan initially, but if you follow certain criteria, then you could not, the part of the loan can be forgiven, the part that you use to spend on employees, mortgage, rent, or utilities. So you have a chance to actually, it's more like a grant for that. So there's that choice, or payroll tax credits. So this is new with the Stimulus Act, is these payroll tax credits. So businesses can get a tax credit for half of what they spend on wages, up to $5,000 per worker. And that includes not just wages, but benefits. So health insurance, for example, if you're paying for some of your employees' health insurance. So it does disqualify your ability, if you go the payroll tax credit route, from taking the SBA loan also. And they're also offering to defer, in addition to the payroll tax credit, 6.2% of the employer match on the Social Security tax, which is 6.2% of all wages paid. They're offering to defer that, and you can repay it half in 2021 and half in 2022 with no interest. So that's a pretty exciting piece. And then we did kind of go over the sick and family leave in our call last week, and some of the options there if you have an employee that has coronavirus, or alternatively, the kids are out of school and they need family leave because they now have to provide care for their children and cannot come into work, can't work from home. They had originally said that you could claim the refunds claim the amount that you're paying them, either the 2 weeks sick pay or the additional 10 weeks of family leave, so 12 weeks total, at 67% pay, by taking refund of claim credits on your Form 941. And now they're saying, because there's a long lag in that, we're at the end of Q1, so we're basically talking about Q2 here. So to have to put the money out today and not get the money back until July didn't seem like the best option. So now they're talking about a way the IRS is working on a new form that you can complete so that you can get an advance refund of the payroll tax of the payroll tax, which basically covers you to pay your employees under the sick and family leave policies. The $350 billion fund for small businesses. That applies to allowing you for under the SBA loan to borrow up to 250% of your normal monthly payroll, including benefits. Does anyone have any questions so far, or anything they've come up with about the SBA loan portion or payroll tax credits? I know that I had a call from a client yesterday. She couldn't be on the call this morning, and she owns a business, and mentioned that her employees are getting cut back. They were working 40 hours a week, or minimum of 30 to 40 under her full-time policy to qualify for health care, and she pays a portion and the employees pay a portion of health care. And she's like, their hours are getting cut back to 21 or less now, so they're really not even making enough. But she didn't want her employees to go without health insurance. So she ponied up this last payroll and covered it for those employees so that they would still be covered. But she was asking about a tax credit for that. That would fall under this payroll tax credits, part of the stimulus package. If so, to do that, you do have to keep your employees for 4 months and not terminate them to qualify under this. So hopefully it won't exceed this would cover enough to cover that health insurance, but there isn't a specific exemption or credit just only for health insurance. So you'd have to apply under this. And, you know, obviously that's up to $5,000 per worker should cover hopefully the remainder of that health insurance that because she doesn't know how much longer she can come out of pocket to pay for her employees, but it was very important to her that they be covered. A lot of her competitors are just terminating employees with no coverage or no benefits, and she's not liking that. And remember, you know, when this all passes, people are going to remember how you treated them. It's been a really tough job market, I think, across the board. I know it is in accounting, and it's been in a lot of other professions. So taking care of how you deal with this crisis with your employees could have very long-term effects on how they feel about you and the competitors when everyone is looking to rehire. And I think loyalty will be built on this. I'm sorry, did you have something? No, okay. Stimulus payments. So everyone's supposed to get $1,200 each. However, if you have 75,000 of adjusted gross income, 112.5 or 150,000, so the 75 is single, 112.5 is head of household, and 150 is married filing joint, then you would get $1,200 each. But if your income exceeds that, once it reaches 99,000 single or 198 married filing joint, it's completely phased out. So the max you would get $1,200 as long as your income falls below those adjusted gross income levels. And they're going off of either 2019 returns if they're filed and processed, but mostly they're going off 2018 tax returns. So in 2018, if your income was higher and for some reason it fell below these levels in 2019, we're going to want to get those tax returns filed right away and try to get the $1,200. The $1,200 is not taxable. It is going to be paid to you by direct deposit. You must have filed your 2018 tax return to qualify to get it. And supposedly the money is going to be dispersed in 3 weeks, and it's going to go direct to your account as long as you filed that 2018 tax return and your income falls below those levels. For children 16 and younger, if you have children 16 and younger, you're supposed to get $500 each for them, but that is also based on these AGI limits as well. Unemployment insurance is a big one. So there's going to be an additional $600 weekly. As many of you know, the Arizona state based unemployment rate max is $240. So that would get people $840 a week. This has been very contested because a lot of people are claiming, well, yeah, they've done away with the even requirement to seek work under this unemployment. So some people are frustrated because they're saying, well, people are going to make more money unemployed than they would have made if they worked at their jobs. They have to qualify. And basically, you know, $240 a week for a family is really clearly not enough money to survive. So, you know, it is what it is. They had to take it across the country. So it will cover self-employed individuals. Before, if you were self-employed, you did not qualify for unemployment. So this is big in that if you are self-employed and you don't have any work right now, photographers, there's a whole bunch of people out there that are self-employed. They can apply also for the unemployment. There will be an additional 13 weeks allotted. Right now, the state allotment for Arizona is 26 weeks. So you can get an additional 13 weeks of unemployment based on this federal override. There is partial unemployment available too for workers earning less than the weekly benefit amount in the state of Arizona. Governor Doug Ducey came out with that on Friday last week. Although I don't know who I mean, this is really low to be making this kind of money, but if they are making less than the $240 a week, then this would supplement them. So maybe somebody who worked at Starbucks and got cut back to below $240 a week, they could apply and potentially get up to $240 a week. And then with the federal override, that might really help with the $600. And again, they're not required to actively seek work. Student loans, there's a suspension of all federal student loan payments until the end of September, and that will not accrue interest. These are just, a complete suspension of all student loan collections. Those are federal student loan payments, though. Some of the student loans that you may have refinanced into may no longer be federal student loans, so that they may or may not apply, although I would think that some of those companies are going to have to give up that because people just won't be able to pay them. Temporary nationwide eviction moratorium. So this is for people, landlords who own residential rental properties, or that there is a nationwide eviction moratorium, meaning you can't evict anybody for not paying rent for 120 days. That's 4 months. For Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac loans. So that can be significant. That only applies for certain loans, not all loans. So charitable contributions, you can now, used to be limited to 50% or 60% of AGI, and now it's 100%. So if you're in the charitable mood and you want to donate 100% of your income to charity, you can go for it. There is going to be a new deduction available for up to $300. This is over and above, like whether you take standard or itemized or not, that you can start. So it encourages people to donate to charity. These are public charities, though. This is not GoFundMe for specific causes. Retirement plans, you do not have to take required minimum distributions in 2020. Even if you are 70 and a half or older, there's no requirements. Or if you're receiving beneficiary IRAs from a deceased person, you do not have to take it. You can take up to $100,000 from your 401k this year or IRA without penalty if you're under 59 and a half. You can take a loan from your 401k. It used to be the minimum was 50, and they just expanded that to $100,000. If you have a loan already that you're repaying, you can add an extra year to that and take a break from paying back that 401k loan right now. And HSAs, you can fund those, and those can now be used to purchase menstrual products. That's new and been a big deal for a long time for a lot of women's rights groups. So that is part of the stimulus package. Again, this is just the package. It's not the law yet. So this will continue to evolve and unfold, and we'll see if the House is going to tweak this bill at all before it gets actually put into law. And then it takes a while for these government agencies to actually get it into a format that you can actually apply for all these things. So we saw the SBA loan got a site write-up, but then the site didn't work, and now you got to submit. And all these agencies are getting overrun with applications. The Arizona unemployment system broke down last week too, the online system for applying for unemployment. So there's a lot of breakdowns in systems, and all of this takes time. So again, if you're feeling up against a wall and somebody's demanding money from you, I think your priority needs to be paying your employees and negotiating with all your other vendors right now to see what you can do. Did anyone have any questions on this, or any other questions of anything else that I didn't talk about?
Yeah. Oh, go ahead. I'll defer.
Well, I just had, I actually had two questions. Great presentation, by the way. Question on stimulus payments. Do you have to file something to receive payments, or does it happen automatically?
It happens automatically.
Awesome. And then the other thing is, if say there's a business owner, they can't file unemployment if they're still working, technically, right?
If they're not earning any income, it does cover self-employed individuals. I think you can apply for unemployment if you're not able to take a paycheck.
You can't take a paycheck. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I would apply. I would assume to apply, and then if you get rejected, you get rejected. But for me, I would apply.
Yeah. Okay.
On the same note question, Elizabeth,
Mm-hmm.
that would go for people who are principals in an LLC also qualifying for unemployment?
Yes. So if you have to terminate yourself, even if you're still working, but you can't afford to pay yourself, then you can do that. Or you can also qualify under maybe taking some of the credits. It's just, if you're going to take advantage of certain things, you might want to be careful about, being consistent. And, you can take the payroll. I would kind of do it in order strategically, because if you're trying to get SBA loan financing and stuff like that, if you can qualify under that, and you were making money, for example, and you can qualify to get the loan, if you go and claim unemployment right now, you're going to maybe screwing your chances of getting the other bigger benefits. So
if your scenario is you don't need an SBA loan, the business isn't in jeopardy, it's just shut down, generating any income, then do you recommend at that point going the unemployment route?
Well, the thing is, see, if this goes through and you're able to get this SBA loan, even if you don't need it, but then it's saying that you would not have to repay portions that were spent on paying employees, a mortgage, rent, or utilities. Now, it doesn't cover people who make more than 100,000. Like, it's not going to cover that. But if you're making less than $100,000, then you're an employee of your small business too. Do you see where I'm going with this? And as long as you keep yourself employed for 4 years, then, and keep the majority of your staff employed for 4 years, then you could potentially apply for the loan and get that part of the loan forgiven that you used to cover your pay. So to me, that would be more advantageous than getting the unemployment. But say you had to let your employees go or already let them go, or you can't keep them on for the 4 months, or the next 30 days is really critical, then maybe go the unemployment route. But take advantage of some of these other things first, which are less disruptive, rather than going immediately to the unemployment. But knowing that it's there for
forgiveness, though, on the SBA is not a guarantee yet, correct? So there's still an element of gamble in it, correct?
There is an element of gamble, yeah.
So it's almost like bird in the hand, two in the bush scenario.
Correct. It's on a case by case depending on your individual circumstance, but yes.
Okay.
So filing for the unemployment, maybe hold off until you do the SBA loan in say my case, or?
Yeah, I think so. I would file for that first and see if you can qualify for forgiveness, if you can get approved and qualify for forgiveness of that portion used to pay the employee's mortgage, rent, or utilities. Because if you do, then you get that money in loan funds, then you don't have to repay that part of it. So it's like free money.
Okay.
But if that requires that you keep the people on for 4 months. So since you may have already let your employees go, then you might not, you won't qualify for the redemption. So in your case, I'd probably go ahead and file the unemployment.
Right, so filing for the unemployment, if you're not going for the keeping the employees thing,
Yeah,
then file for the unemployment because that won't affect the SBA loan.
no, it should not.
You have to terminate yourself and then file for unemployment. Okay.
Right.
And just to reiterate, the forgiveness portion of the SBA loan is not guaranteed yet. That's a hypothesis.
It is, because we don't have any of this yet. We don't even have the unemployment yet, though, either, the $600 extra unemployment weekly, because this is all part of this stimulus. Everything below this line is tentative at the moment, although I do think some, if not all of these elements will be voted on. I mean, the politicians now have all touted this and it's going to be, but it could be still tweaked. So if this is voted on, because timing is critical for everyone, I'm thinking of actually doing 2 sessions next week, because if we do get a vote and this is final, it's 880 pages long. So I have to read it, the final version, to be able to speak knowledgeably about it. I mean, some of it doesn't apply to my client base, so I'll skip over that part. But I have to have a clear understanding before I can speak on it. But if it does go through quickly and I feel like next Friday is too long, then I might move this up or have 2 sessions next week, earlier in the week, if people are like on the edge.
On the payroll tax credit, is the credit only the tax portion, or is it a credit on their wages as well? So up to 5,000 of wages and taxes.
Wages and taxes, the payroll tax credit, yes.
Okay.
Are there any stipulations behind how much of that is recoverable? I mean, is it based on sales or is it based on anything like that?
It's 50% of the employee's wages up to $5,000 per worker. So the max is $5,000 that you're going to get back.
And how does that get appropriated? Do we have to apply for that? Is that automatic?
Yeah, so it's going to be run through the payroll. So they're coordinating with all the big payroll companies and the IRS to get these forms available and distributable, so that we so if we process your payroll, for example, we do process your payroll, then we will file all these forms for you as part of running the payroll. But they haven't even come out with the forms yet to apply, but this is all supposed to happen. I mean, there is a huge push to get this immediately payable. And then that deferral of the 6.2% Social Security tax on the wages is also supposed to be part of it. So and that's in addition to the credits. But if you take the payroll tax credits and you're not available for the SBA loan redemption, so it's really a calculation on a case by case on what is going to be the most advantageous to you. Should we go the immediately payroll tax credit route with the advance funding, get some of this money? Or should we go the SBA route with the gamble and see if we can get more money? It just depends on how we are, but the deferral is supposed to be available whether or not you do the SBA. And they're really talking about not the SBA loan, I think the SBA loan forgiveness portion. So that part up here, that forgiveness, they're not going to let you, in other words, get the grant, basically, because if the loan is forgiven, it's considered like a grant. Get a grant and then also claim tax credits for payroll. So logically, because then you're kind of double dipping. But I think the better part is the forgiveness, but you have to go through the qualification process. It's going to take a month. And if you need like a guaranteed, like, let's just take bird in the hand, 2 in the bush, then I would go with the payroll tax credits, because for sure that's going to be rolled out quickly and we can get some immediate assistance with getting these payrolls going. But you do have to keep the majority of your employees for 4 months to qualify for that.
So if you keep the payroll tax credit, but you as, get unemployment, make yourself dispensable, keep the employees so they have income.
Mm-hmm.
That combination is a pretty good combination.
Yeah, but you are an employee then. So you've gotten rid of yourself and you're supposed to be keeping all your employees for 4 months.
Oh, all including yourself.
Yes. So
But you
where's
said
the
majority of the
unemployment for
employees.
someone who had to let all their people go?
But you said majority of all your employees, right?
Yes. And
So-
that's to be defined still.
Okay, so if you're the only one who's dismissed, and so for me, that would leave 3 more employees plus a 1099 employee. That would be a majority remaining,
Right.
but we don't know if that's a sure calculation.
Correct. I need to do more on that, but they haven't released.
So what would you say our next, other than qualifying or applying for an SBA loan, if someone needs that, what's our real next practical step regarding payroll tax credit, regarding all of these things going on? Is it just wait till next week?
I think we are going to have the payroll tax credits. I think the most emergent things are, do you have someone with coronavirus? Do
No.
they have someone at home with coronavirus? Or can they not come to work because they have to care for their kids? If you have those things, you have to deal with those now, regardless of what happens. But the other things, yes, I think until we have for sure strategy on, for some people it's more clear than others. If you've let your employees go, then go for the unemployment because you need money. If you don't have any money to pay yourself and you need money for your family, then that would be step 1, regardless of what happens next week. If you're still hanging in there by a thread, then I think the next comparison is, okay, once this package is finally approved, then the next step would be, do we want to go the SBA loan route, or we want to go for sure on the payroll tax credits? And if we can take advantage of those up to $5,000 per worker, then once you've hit the cap, and depending on how many of the employees, when they come out with final law, have to remain employed for 4 months, if it's 100%, then that says to you, no, they haven't defined that percentage yet. So if it's 100%, then you have a choice to make. You can get $5,000, or, which is basically 6 weeks of unemployment here in Arizona, because it's 240 plus the 600, that's 840. So you're roughly at 5 weeks of unemployment, or the $5,000 per worker, or, but you still need some of your employees. So it seems to me like the better option would be go ahead and claim unemployment for yourself. And then, since it is available supposedly for the self-employed, and then forget the $5,000 per worker, because in 26 weeks, you're going to be at, 24 grand of benefit, whereas you're only getting 5. And if you only have 4 employees, then you're only going to get 20 grand the other way, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
So we need to wait for that law to pass so we know if it's retaining 100% of your employees or the majority.
Right. And how do they define majority? Is it 67%? Is it 90%? We need to know. Because if you have 4 employees and you terminate one, you're already at 75%.
Now we have a 1099 worker. He works exclusively for us, but he's 1099 all around the country. So if he were to collect unemployment, he can now get that, you're saying, huh?
He could go and file for unemployment, then he can't receive money from you while he's getting the unemployment.
Right. And how would that affect us or any other people who support 1099 employees?
Well, it makes it easier because if they can go and apply for this unemployment, then you don't have to have as much of an obligation. You can apply, and I think that's why they introduced this, is because then at least like people are focusing on keeping their employees busy first, usually more than their contractors, but they don't want to lose their contractors. Like you have a great contractor that you had long-term for a long time. You don't want to lose that.
Right.
But it kind of provide, like, there's probably nothing for sale, like you can't really sell stuff right now. So there's not a lot of commissions or things happening. So in that scenario, could keep them like say, hey, listen, get the unemployment right now. And then when, everything comes back on, I'm going to hold your position here for you. But for right now, like for, you can't make any sales, you can't really travel around and do stuff. So why don't you just take this unemployment? I won't contest it. I'll let you get it, and then we'll revisit it.
But if there's 1099, if they're a 1099, a lot of 1099 people have like multiple outlets they're collecting from.
Right.
So would they be coming to me to verify anything? I mean, he could have a.
No, this is they don't need to come to you. They're gonna just go to the government and apply.
He just needs to make sure we don't issue him any more checks in the meantime.
Right. Well, if he's said to you he's claiming employment, but again, he's an independent contractor to you, so he's attesting to the fact that he's unemployed. You're not required to verify whether or not he's collecting unemployment.
Right. So there's really no back ramifications for us either because
No.
he's a 1099. So
No.
it's all a really good structure for him to go and to keep him kind of in the harbor for us when things go back to normal.
Right. Exactly.
Okay. And that's already a for sure thing. That's not.
No, that's part of this bill also, is this unemployment piece.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you have like workers that you're, so for example, this week, I laid off everyone last week, and then this week I had to bring a couple guys in just to do some work. I would pay them. I can't pay them 1099. I thought I could switch them to a 1099 status, right? No, I'd have to still pay them through the books.
Right, but you could be getting, if this goes through, you could get a payroll tax credit for them if you keep them on as employees. If you just pay them as independent contractors, you're not going to get the tax credit. It depends, again, on how they define keeping your employees, what that means.
Oh, not even from my perspective, but from theirs. Are they going to want to come back and work if, like, I was going to switch them to 1099 so that they could still collect unemployment.
Yeah, so that's up to them. So you could put them as a 1099 because you did dismiss them, and now you're just you're paying them piecemeal for a job here and there, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
They truly are independent contractors at this point.
Okay, and then from their perspective, the unemployment, they just have to handle it how they handle it, right?
Right, it's on them.
Question about the eviction moratorium. How could that possibly affect my Airbnb platform?
For Airbnb, it doesn't affect any.
Like someone moving in and not moving out on a weekend rental and then not moving out.
Well, that's different because it's not a long-term lease.
Okay.
So they're a temporary stay. So you can't just move in to Marriott. Same concept. It's more like a hotel. You can't just move in there and then tell them you're not going to pay for the room anymore under this act. Yeah. No.
All right.
I'm sure there's going to be some creative people that try that though, Gary.
Well, some people try it, regardless. So I didn't know with this new moratorium if that just gave them like a shelter to do so.
Yeah, no, it's supposed to be for long-term residential rental if you lose your job and stuff, but they can't, like if they still have their job and stuff like that, like I think you have grounds, they can't just stop paying you rent because of the coronavirus.
Okay. The student loan hold, is that automatic or is that something you have to request?
No, for all federal student loans, that's automatic.
And then if the case that they've sold the loan to someone else, that's still going to process then, huh?
If they sold it to someone else, you need to verify with it. I would verify. Like it'd be interesting to see like what Navi is coming out with if that's a big one where they bundle and um, where they bundle and
Sell the loans.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, see, explore your options to reduce or postpone your payments. So see this, you're gonna have to 0% for effective March 13th. See, and it tells you here, it has to be owned by one of these. So it is probably good to log into your account at least and see just what it says in there. And if not, then you're probably gonna have to follow up, but they're all at 0% right now. So I think they're not gonna pursue collection action on these at the moment. And it would be really bad press for them. So once the government comes out with these, even if it's on a vendor basis or different things, generally a lot of these people, banks and lenders and everything are going to have to follow suit. But you don't automatically have to, if you own a bunch of rentals, say free rent for 4 months, because they actually have to prove that they've been impacted or lost their jobs. And that doesn't give them free rent. It just prevents you from evicting them for not paying the rent. But that doesn't mean they don't owe it to you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Weren't they going to do something about mortgages too?
Yeah.
Mortgages
So
or something?
that's
Only certain banks.
basically preventing the banks, if they're Fannie or Freddie Mac loans, from closing on you if you haven't made payments for 120 days. It gives you a 120-day reprieve.
Oh, okay. I thought they were going to do something about freezing mortgages, and they go on the back end. They were going to freeze them for 3 months or something.
Well, that's been done, I believe, in New York. Governor Cuomo ordered that no one has to make their payments, but that may not apply throughout the rest of the United States. That's not part of the bill that I read it as it was as of this morning.
Okay.
Anything else from anybody?
Can you hear me,
Yes.
Elizabeth?
Yes.
Hi. I can't seem to get my computer to work on audio, but if we furlough employees for a couple of weeks, can we then hire them back and they have to come back or lose their UI benefits?
If you furlough them and they go and claim unemployment, and then you want to hire them back.
So then you hire them. Yeah, you hire them back because you now got approved for the forgivable loan. Do they have to come back?
Well, I would think it would be in their, if they are offered employment, although they're not required to actively seek work, I think you can notify like DES, the Arizona State Economic Security Department that deals with this. It's called DES, Department of Economic Security. I think you can notify them that you do have availability for them to come back to work, and that will impact their benefits. Because if there is work to be done, then the government doesn't want to pay, obviously, to them to not work. So
Right. And okay. But does that work and still get the forgivable loans? So you furlough them for a while, just temporarily, until you get maybe approved for the forgivable loans, and then you hire everyone back?
no, I think you're supposed to keep them if you
Okay.
want to get the forgiveness portion of the loan.
Got it. Okay. And then you mentioned that you can borrow up to 250% of your monthly payroll to pay payroll, utilities, and rent.
Uh-huh.
That really will only cover 2.5 months of payroll. It won't cover utilities and rent. And you had mentioned something about 4 months. You have to keep them for 4 months. So then the government is expecting you to just pony up the rest. Is that the idea?
Well, no, I think what they're offering is, like, ideally you would apply for the loan, have the portion of the loan forgiveness is supposed to cover your employees.
Okay.
What they're saying is this is the what they're considering of the loan fund, like that they're considering 250% of an employer's monthly payroll, including benefits.
Mhm.
But as a minimum amount of loan, I believe, is what that qualification is. But then say you apply for the loan, then your forgiveness could be the wages for whatever period of time this is covering. So that would be like 10 weeks, right? Like you
Got
said,
it.
2.5 months.
Yeah.
Then you could get that forgiven just for those specific expenses. Like they're not going to forgive your advertising budget on Google clicks and stuff.
Right.
But
Okay.
you know, you can apply to Google, you can apply to Facebook for actually those. Right now they're offering credits for you as well to keep advertising. There's a whole list of companies that are offering all kinds of incentives right now, and I can pass along the list to you as well. But there's a ton of free money out there right now from Google, Facebook, Amazon.
Can you send that list to everyone, Elizabeth? We can get that too.
Huh?
Can you send that list to everyone so we can get that too?
Yeah, I'll send you the list. There's the payroll tax. So ideally, you apply for that, and then in the meantime, though, to cover your costs of these employees, get that forgiven, you can take advantage of the deferral of the employer taxes. Or alternatively, you could take the payroll tax credit, but then you're not going to get the forgiveness. So, God, we have to see how this pans out. So you have to kind of go one way or the other. Like if, you know, getting the part forgiven is going to be like you're applying for a loan and then you're going to have to apply for forgiveness of the loan. So as Gary pointed out, there's a lot of steps here that have to take place, and then you're kind of at the mercy of the government, which isn't always reasonable, although I'm always appeal and everything else. But again, it's a bureaucratic institution, so God only knows, and you're what you're gonna get. So the fastest immediate benefit, if you have to close your doors and you can't have services, is maybe cut your employees, have them claim the unemployment, and then you can notify Department of Economic Security that you're back up and running, and that they can apply to get, and again, it's up to $600, or they're saying automatic $600. This is where you're in a tough spot, one, because your employees, maybe they don't make $840 a week.
No, that's right.
Not incentivized to get back to work, and that's one of the reasons why this was so contested, this portion. I think they should have put, I guess administratively, they didn't know to get immediate funds into people's hands, you know, because someone in New York City, for example, the $840 a week, you're barely going to be able to survive, but somebody in Arizona, you can survive quite nicely on $840 a week, and a lot of people would love to get that kind of money. So we'll have to see how this flows, but certainly I think, you know, if you have the positions reopened, they're going to hopefully be cut off of benefits, but I don't know that that's guaranteed the way this is written right now.
Mhm.
Elizabeth, the news has said that Congress passed historic $2 trillion relief package.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's exciting.
It's going to be signed by Trump later
Eight,
today.
I see 880 pages of reading in your future.
Yeah, well, there's not much else I can do right now, so.
Fun weekend.
Yeah. All right, well, if you don't have anything else, I hope you guys all have a fabulous weekend, and I will try to reconvene an update of this. I'll send everybody my notes, the list of availability of these different corporate sponsorships that are available right now. And I'll be back in touch with when we can schedule an update.
Perhaps since the bill
Thank you.
is out now, we could do this sooner since we
Yes.
have answers.
Yes, so I will try to get another one going here for Monday.
Great.
Should we just stay on and watch you read it?
You can.
Can you fit a couch in that room behind you? Okay. I'll talk to you later. Thanks, Elizabeth.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Okay, thank you.